All right, Rob. The news of the day, even as we all prepare for football, was that an absolute American legend, an American icon, not just a baseball icon and legend, but an American icon and legend. Hank Aaron died today, 86 years old, and the entire sports world and beyond has been in mourning, Rob.
No doubt about it. Chris, you just said it. He's beyond just one sport, just baseball. Everybody knows that name, Hank Aaron, and what he was able to accomplish on the baseball field. But along with being one of the top, I say 2 or 3 sluggers who have ever played the game, he was also a guy with great dignity, Chris, class, and the way he handled courage, the way he handled himself throughout his career. Played in the Negro Leagues before black players could play in the majors. Played a long career, 23 years. Passed Babe Ruth in 1974. And Chris, people threatened to kill him and his children. They didn't want him, a black man, to pass Babe Ruth, an American icon. It was just the idea that the greatest home run hitter in the United States would be a black man when we just started playing at that level in 1947.
Right.
Think about it.
He entered the major leagues in 1954.
Right.
So he was in that first generation of black players, and all of a sudden he's breaking Babe Ruth's record. And you're absolutely right.
I shed some tears today because the video of him, Chris, hitting the home run off Al Downing and the Dodgers to pass Babe Ruth, and Vince Scully's on the call, and Vince Scully's tremendous. He captures the whole moment. He does. We do have it. We're about to listen to it, and Chris, he captures the whole moment. He talks about a black man breaking a record of an iconic white guy in the South and what it meant. Vince Scully, I give him credit. Like, he didn't just make it as a home run and it didn't matter. It meant something. And if you were black back then, it was a badge of pride. And Hank Aaron just, shrugged all of the criticism and the hate and the bigotry off, Chris, and was able to still do his job and still play through it. It's an incredible story. And what made me cry, and I'm being honest with you, I shed tears, is you need to go look at the video and what I'm talking about. It's his father's first in a hat. His father comes up. There's a big crowd around Hank Aaron. Chris, you probably saw it today if you watched the video. His father's first. He gives him a hug with the crowd around him. Yep. And then his mom comes through the crowd, and she grabs him like it's her last grab of her life. And she holds tight as if to say, my son did it, and I'm so proud. It was the moment that a couple of tears came down my eye because you could really see the love and the how much she admired her child for making such an amazing accomplishment. And it's great. And Chris, what's your take on Hank?
Man, I mean, everything you said, I certainly agree with. Hank Aaron, and I don't know that this generation of sports fans, particularly black ones, can understand how big he was, Rob, because baseball is not as dominant as it was back then. In the 70s, baseball was king, right? It was more popular than football. It was more popular than basketball. And I think in much of the country, even in black communities, when I was growing up, when he broke that home run record, 1974, I was living in Cincinnati in a black neighborhood. And we played baseball and talked about baseball, and it seemed like we liked baseball more than basketball. And my 2 biggest heroes at that young age, I was only 6, but that young age, I was probably 5 when he actually broke the record. Well,
right.
Maybe 6, I don't know. But yeah, I was 6, I guess. It was no, I'm sorry, I would have been 5. But Hank Aaron and Muhammad Ali
Yep.
were like the 2 biggest names that I recall in the black community as far as athletes. And, because both of them were obviously dominant in their sports, but also they both stood up for what was right and stood up for African American rights. In fact, Muhammad Ali, Robin, I'm assuming you heard this today. I know you've probably heard it before. Muhammad Ali said this about Hank Aaron. He's the only man I idolize more than myself.
Wow. Did he really say that?
He said that. He said he's the only man I idolize more than myself. And Rob, a lot we've dealt a lot with mental health, and recently, because Kyrie Irving took time away to get himself right and all that, and we respect that. But and I was talking with players and just people around the NBA about, players do. I know they get the whole off season off, about 4 months, 5 months, whatever it might be. But they do generally play through all sorts of challenges that we all face in life, right? You go through a divorce, that's tough. Players play through that. You got problems in your personal life or whatever it is, that's tough. Players play through that. So they generally play through the challenges and tough circumstances that we all deal with in life. They don't get to necessarily just take the day off or whatever. Hank Aaron played through death threats at a time when a white person threatened a black person with a death threat. I mean, it could happen. And it obviously could happen today. But, back then, it was not unusual. I mean, lynching had just, was really big just years before, and it was a whole overt racism was much more prevalent than it is today. And so he had to take those threats seriously. And yet he still went out there, not only showed up for work, but played brilliantly. He didn't just play. He played brilliantly through
with
all of that madness.
And the other thing, too, you were talking about the threats. Think about this. If you watch the video when he rounds second base between second and third, Chris, 2 guys come out of the stands, 2 white guys behind Hank Aaron. Yep. At that point, Hank, just shrugs them off and keeps running. One of those guys could have stabbed him with all the threats or tried to shoot him on the field. I mean, what could have been going through his ear?
Defensive, like he didn't jump or
he didn't swing on nobody.
Where you might want to hit somebody or whatever. He just played it cool and kept going. It was amazing, man. And here's another thing, right? And this is baseball related. I mentioned it yesterday briefly. We see a lot of guys. And maybe you're the baseball expert. You can tell me if I'm wrong or right. It seems like today, Rob, we see more guys who aren't consistently great. Like, I remember players who every year they were going to be great. And today, obviously, you do have players like that. But you also have a lot that are fly by night. They have a nice stretch, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it might be. But they aren't consistently awesome. Hank Aaron was the home run king, and he never hit more than 47 home runs in a season.
I got 2 more numbers for you.
Consistency. And, Rob, he was a home run hitter, obviously, and he batted .305 for his career. Think about that.
Let me give you 2 more.
Hit for power and average.
Here's 2 more. If you take away his 755 home runs, he still, Chris, had over 3,000 hits. That's a magic number, 3,000 hits.
Wow.
You could take those away, and here's the last one. he finished his career 3 RBIs short of 2,300. He played 23 seasons, Chris. That would be an average of 100 RBIs through your entire career. Think about it. When you start your career, you're not that great, right? And when you end, you're not as good. So your numbers are going to go down because they're not that good at the end.
Right.
And it drags it down. He averaged 100 RBIs. And Hank Aaron's numbers are ridiculous. The idea that he even went into the Hall of Fame without 100%. Who didn't vote for Hank Aaron?
Yeah. I mean, that's baseball. You know that. I mean, it's
right.
It's
Mariano Rivera was the first to be unanimous. Right. But we want to hear this call, though.
His home
fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone. What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was met at home plate not only by every member of the Braves, but by his father and mother. He threw his arms around his father, and as he left the home plate area, his mother came running across the grass, threw her arms around his neck, kissed him for all she was worth.
Absolutely.
There it is, the great
he
Vince
captured
Scully
it.
talking about the great Hank Aaron. Yep.
He captured the whole moment.
All right, 877-99 on Fox. Hank Aaron's the subject. What do you think?
All right, let's kick it off with David in Lincoln, Nebraska. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, David?
Hey, fellas, my family I haven't met yet. It's been a minute, man. Good to talk to you guys.
Same
you
here,
too,
David.
Brother, always.
Hey, look, man, I'll keep this short and sweet. I know a lot of people have things they probably want to say, but I was at work today when the news came down. I instantly became a wreck, and at one point I was moved to tears. Hank Aaron isn't just a sports hero. He's not just a black hero. He was an American hero. And maybe the best way to describe him or his legacy is the fact that a 50-year-old white guy from nowhere, Nebraska, had his emotions moved upon hearing of his passing. So heaven seems like a really appropriate place. Love you guys. Appreciate what you do, and I'll get out of the way and let somebody else have their turn. Thanks.
David, thank you for that.
Very well
really.
put, David. Very
thank
well
you.
put.
Very thoughtful, and yeah.
And he's right. That does say a lot, Rob.
And no doubt about it. No doubt. But people can move you like that when you see somebody, Chris, who's who knows how to deal with the obstacles of life.
Right.
Never gets, if people do you dirty, you don't have to do other people dirty. He wasn't that way. I don't remember Hank Aaron lashing out at the media or lashing out at people. Do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do that. He just didn't.
He didn't. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Brandon in Dallas, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm going to skip, all the introductories. I want to say two things about the great Hank Aaron. I'm going to make it brief. The first thing that I want to say is that Hank Aaron was a beacon of light for people not only that look like me and you, but especially people that look like us. And he gave us a beacon of light and let us know that no matter what's going on, you can be what you want to be. And the second point that I want to make is that people like me, when I grew up in the 90s, and he paved the way for guys like Ken Griffey Jr. And other men like that, so that when I grew up, I can see those guys shine and grow up with them as my idols too.
No doubt,
right.
Brandon.
That's
And
right.
about paving the way, I mean, like being able to, from Mobile, Alabama, Chris, dirt poor, nothing. I was reading stories today about he would be outside playing ball and him and his friend playing catch, and his mother would say, get in the house and get under the bed because the Klan had come by, you know what I mean, was down the road, and doing their dastardly deeds or whatever,
Right.
scaring the bejesus out of people. And he'd have to live through that and still wanted to play ball more than anything, and didn't have the field, didn't have the glove, and still was able to make it.
I don't think he could play on his high school team because they didn't let blacks play.
Right.
He
Think about
played.
that.
He had his first major league tryout though at 15, and he ended up playing in the Negro leagues.
Right.
Until he was went to the Major League Baseball.
To the Milwaukee Braves. All right, let's Greg in Montana. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What you got, Greg?
Gentlemen, thank you for taking my call, and I'll just elaborate just what that first gentleman said was, you got a million people that probably want to get on today, so I'll keep mine short and sweet. I was 12 years old. I had to watch that on a 9-inch TV. I was playing Little League back then.
Yep.
You didn't want to be Babe Ruth. You wanted to be Hank Aaron. You wanted to knock it out of the park. Didn't matter color or anything else, but born and raised in Chicago, you wanted to hit the ball like Hank Aaron did because he popped the ball all the time. So thanks for taking my call, and thanks for being on the radio, guys.
No doubt.
Right,
thank
you for the sentiment.
We want to squeeze one more in. Keith in Peoria, Illinois. Keith, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. I know you have some thoughts on Hank.
How you doing, fellas? Yes, I do, man. Hey, I was 11 years old and just had my 11th birthday. I remember the Little League days when everybody wanted to be Hank Aaron. And Rob, what you were talking about is on the accolades. Don't forget, he's still the all-time leader in total bases with over 3,000. You think about that.
That's incredible.
Total bases.
Yep.
That's incredible. Yes, he was. He was something that's special. I'll never forget him. He was one of my all-time greats. I was a lovable fan of his. He was one of the ones that started me in Little League. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys, and we'll never forget him. I hope to see him up in heaven when I make it to the promised land. All right, fellas.
Well said, Keith.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Keith. All right, we got John Middlecoff, former NFL scout, host of the 3 and Out podcast on the Herd Podcast Network. He's next. But first, Steve DeSager with the update. Steve.
Hey, Steve. Guys, so glad you're talking about the great Hank Aaron. And you mentioned how his mom hugged him, came out of the stands and hugged him after he hit that home run that broke Babe Ruth's career home run record. She had said later, as you can see from the video, it's more than just a hug. She is hanging on him.
Yes.
She said later that if they were going to kill my son, they're going to have to kill me too.
See, you know what? And I believe that. That's the kind of hug. That's why it brought me to tears, the way she hugged him and knowing, Steve, what he went through. Yeah. Yes, what he went through to even get to that point.
Terrified when he was running around those bases.
And I'm glad you mentioned that he was a career 305 hitter, too. People think of power hitters, especially these days with all the strikeouts and home runs and not much else. Guys like Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth had great career batting averages, and Hank Aaron is number one in all-time in RBIs. So you think of like Mark McGwire, something like a ton of home runs, career batting average 263. Can't hold a candle to Hank Aaron. In fact, I looked it up. Mark McGwire, 6,000 at-bats. Hank Aaron, 12,000 career at-bats. The longevity, what was it, 25 All-Star games? I mean, just an incredible career.
That was the other thing that I put out on Twitter today. He made 25 All-Star games, Chris, in 23 years. You know how?
They used to have 2 per year just for a few years.
They used to have 2 All-Star games from 1959 to, was it 59 to 58 to 62. They had 2 All-Star games. Yep.
And in that era, he won 3 straight Gold Gloves in right field, too, by the way. And so when it finally came, you played the Vin Scully call of it, because it was the Dodgers that gave up the home run in Atlanta to Aaron, number 715, to break Ruth's record. This was the Braves' call on local radio. Milo Hamilton had become the Braves announcer after they moved to Atlanta.
He's sitting on 714. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The Baseball Hall of Famer Aaron dies at 86. Yes.
One more thing, real quick. That call right there where he says it's 7:15. That used to be the official time check on my radio show, which started at 7 o'clock in Detroit. So at 7:15, I'm no lie, we played that It's 715 from Hank Aaron's home run.
One of the magic numbers, actually, in the history of American sports. Still, I don't care if Barry Bonds passed him legally or illegally, 715 is still, in any sport in this country, one of the magic numbers.
Right.
Hank Aaron, number one, all-time in RBIs, as mentioned, 755 career home runs. Just a silly, silly good career. It's just incredible how good he was.